Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
The crunch of tires on my gravel driveway made me glance up from my laptop. A white Escalade slid in, polished to a mirror shine. Right behind it came my father-in-law's Lincoln, the same one he bragged about buying in cash. Before either vehicle even stopped, I heard her voice, sharp, familiar, and already in command. "Ray, open up. We need to talk." I didn't move fast. I saved my work, took a slow sip of coffee, and topped off my mug. If she was pulling up with backup, something was about to get ugly. When I opened the door, there was a woman I'd never seen. Heels sinking slightly in the gravel, camera clicking at my porch like she was cataloging evidence. Carla didn't wait for an invite. She brushed past me, perfume trailing behind her like she owned the air in my house. "This is Miss Lane," she said. "All business. She's here to look at the property." "What property?" I asked, though I already knew where this was headed. My stomach tightened. Quick note before we go further. Share in the comments which city or country you're watching from. And let's continue. Miss Lane was all polite smiles, still scanning the place. "We'll just do a quick walk through," she said, aiming her phone toward the hallway. Carla's eyes darted to the kitchen, like she was mentally replacing my cabinets with something out of a catalog. She didn't even sit down, just marched into the living room, tapping on the walls like she was checking for termites. The second car door slammed outside. Heavy footsteps. Her dad, followed by the squeak of his leather jacket. The man barely glanced at me before stepping inside like I was the guest. Miss Lane kept moving, her voice syrupy but firm. "It's a charming space. Solid bones. We could list quickly." Carla crossed her arms. "We'd like to move this before the market shifts. Sooner's better." I set my mug down hard enough for it to thud on the table. "What exactly are you trying to sell?" Her eyes narrowed, a little smirk curling at the corner of her mouth. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be, Ray. You'll be taken care of." That last part, taken care of, hit me like a warning more than a promise. My jaw clenched. I stepped between Miss Lane and the hallway. "You're not showing anything else," I said, my voice low. Carla tilted her head, almost bored. "We'll see about that." She pulled out her phone, already dialing someone. And that was the moment I knew. This wasn't a visit. It was an ambush. Carla's dad didn't even bother wiping his boots before stepping in. He strolled across the living room like he'd written the check for every plank of hardwood under him. "Open floor plan," he said, gesturing at my load-bearing wall like it was a cheap divider. "Gray cabinets in the kitchen. You could even knock out this section, put in an island." Carla followed right behind him, pointing at the ceiling. "Updated bathroom tiles, maybe recess the lighting. It'll photograph better." Miss Lane trailed after them, tapping notes into her phone. "The bones are solid," she said, glancing at me like I was just another piece of furniture in the way. "But yes, it needs updating." I looked at her for a long second, holding back the urge to laugh. I'd spent 4 years on this place. Nights after work, weekends, money I didn't really have. All to restore the house my uncle left me after he passed. The same uncle who taught me how to sand a floor and fix a roof without hiring a crew. Carla turned, arms folded. "You've been camping out here long enough. We'll get you into a nice little condo. Something manageable." I stepped closer. "You mean like one of those units that smell like bleach and old carpet?" She smirked. "Something you can handle." Miss Lane glanced between us, eyebrows twitching like she was starting to realize this wasn't just a friendly home tour. "Let me see your paperwork," I said. "What paperwork?" she asked. "Proof you have the right to sell anything here?" Miss Lane hesitated, scrolling through her phone. "They told me they inherited it from her uncle." I stared at Carla, my voice flat. "My uncle?" Carla rolled her eyes. You know what she meant. "No," I said, turning back to Miss Lane. "She lied to you. This house was never theirs to inherit." Carla's dad stepped in, puffing up like a bouncer. "Look, the sooner we get this on the market, the better it is for everyone." "For everyone?" I asked. "Or for you?" Miss Lane's face started to shift. Less eager realtor. more someone realizing she might be standing in the middle of a mess she didn't sign up for. She looked toward the front door, probably wondering how fast she could get out if things went bad. Carla kept going, talking over me. The kitchen's outdated. The bathrooms are small. Buyers will want modern. I cut her off. Buyers will want to know the seller actually owns the property. Miss Lane finally stopped typing. Wait, are you saying... I'm saying I'm the only one who can put this place on the market. And I'm not selling. Carla's dad gave a short, humorless laugh. You think you can stop us? I stepped right up to him, close enough to smell the aftershave he always overused. Try me. Carla's phone buzzed. She answered without looking at me, turning her back like I wasn't worth the time. I heard her say, Yeah, we're inside. She's taking notes. Then she shot me a glance over her shoulder, the kind that said this wasn't over. Miss Lane closed her notebook, lips pressed tight. I think I've seen enough for now. And the room went dead quiet, just the sound of her heels tapping toward the door. I pulled out my phone and brought up the county property record. The blue seal popped on the screen, my name bold in the middle. I held it out. Raymond Foster, sole owner since 2020. Miss Lane leaned in. Carla didn't. Her eyes rolled so far back I thought she might sprain something. He's been unstable for years, she said, waving a hand like she was swatting a fly. He's not capable of handling property. Miss Lane's face drained of color. She took one step back, then another, her eyes moving between them like she'd just realized she was standing next to a live wire. You told me you owned this, she said to Carla, voice clipped now. We do, Carla shot back, but it sounded flimsy even to her. Miss Lane shook her head. This could be fraud. Her tone was all business now, no fake warmth. She was out the door before I could answer, heels stabbing the gravel. Carla's dad took a step toward me, fingers stabbing the air. We raised you, fed you, you owe us. I laughed once, short, sharp. You've never even seen this house till today. You just came to grab something you thought I couldn't protect. His voice got louder. We've supported you for years. In what universe? I said. Every holiday, every visit, you went out of your way to remind me I was the screw-up in the family. Carla crossed her arms. You are. Look at you, clinging to some old house like it's your lifeline. It's not just a house, I said. It's mine. And you were counting on me rolling over so you could cash out. Her dad's face went red. This place would actually be worth something if you let us handle it. You mean if you sold it out from under me? Carla stepped forward, her voice dropping. We were trying to help you, Ray. You just can't see past your own pride. Help me? I said, leaning in. By lying to a realtor and trying to commit fraud? Yeah, real generous. She didn't blink. You think keeping this place is going to make your life better? It's a dump. Nobody wants it. Except you, I said. Funny how that works. Her dad looked like he was about to lunge, but I didn't move. I just held his stare until he broke it. Get out, I said, my voice low but steady. Carla tilted her head, smirking again. We're not done here. I opened the door and pointed outside. You are today. They didn't move right away. Her dad muttered something under his breath, too low to catch. Carla's heels clicked once on the wood before she finally stepped out. I followed, watching them walk toward their cars. Carla's dad turned at the last second, pointing at me like he was marking a target. This isn't over, Ray. The engines fired up, gravel spitting under their tires as they backed out. I stood there, my coffee still on the table inside, cooling in the silence they left behind. And in that silence, I knew they weren't just going to give up. They were going to come back harder. Carla made it halfway to the Escalade before she stopped, turned, and slammed her elbow into the planter by my front steps. Terracotta shattered across the porch, dirt spilling like a kicked anthill. Her dad didn't even try to hide his move. Slow, deliberate, dragging his keys down the length of my truck. The screech of metal on paint made my teeth clench, but I didn't go after him. My cameras caught every second. Time-stamped, high def, both angles. Vandalism. Trespassing. And with Miss Lane's testimony, I could add attempted fraud to the pile. They roared off, gravel flying. That night, my phone buzzed with a message from Megan. They said you stole the house. What the hell is wrong with you? I stared at the screen for a second, then typed back. You're smarter than this. Ask to see proof. No reply. Figures. I set my laptop on the kitchen table and started digging. County property records were public, and it didn't take long to find their golden address, the sprawling estate they bragged about at every holiday. Foreclosure notice. 4 months behind on payments. The PDF was dated 2 weeks ago, the same week Carla had been too busy to return my calls. The more I clicked, the uglier it got. Court records showed bankruptcy filed under her dad's roofing company. Years of unpaid suppliers, lawsuits from clients, the works. The man who lectured me about real responsibility couldn't even keep his own roof over his head. Literally. I leaned back, let it sink in. This whole stunt with my house wasn't random. They were desperate. Probably thought they could sell quick, pocket enough to stop the bleeding on their place. I picked up my phone and scrolled to Diana's name. We'd gone to college together. She was the one who could turn legalese into plain English and enjoyed scaring bullies half to death. She answered on the second ring. Ray, please tell me this is about that nightmare family of yours. I gave her the rundown, the cars, the fake inheritance claim, the vandalism, the foreclosure dirt I'd just found. When I got to the part about Miss Lane realizing she'd been lied to, Diana actually cackled. You've got them nailed. This is gift-wrapped. Hell, I'll take this case for free just for the fun. You think we can actually do something with it? I asked. Oh, I don't think. I know. We've got fraud, trespassing, destruction of property, and if we really want to turn the screws, we start digging into that bankruptcy. I pictured Carla's smirk fading when a court date showed up in her mailbox. Do it! Diana's tone sharpened. Don't engage with them directly. Let me handle everything. They so much as step on your property again, you call the cops first, me second. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Deal. She laughed again. Ray, this is going to be fun. I hung up, shut the laptop, and looked out at the driveway, fresh key marks still glaring in the moonlight. They thought they'd blindsided me, but the truth was, they'd just handed me every weapon I needed. The next morning, I was halfway through my coffee when I saw them again. Same Escalade, same Lincoln. Only this time there was a new face with them. Some guy in a shiny suit, all grins, carrying a leather folder. Another realtor. I didn't even bother opening the door. I just stepped onto the porch, phone in hand, and hit dial. County Sheriff's Office. Yeah, I said. Got 2 vehicles and a realtor trespassing on my property. You've got my address. 5 minutes later, the deputy rolled up. Carla was mid-sales pitch when he walked up and told them, flat and clear, "You're trespassing. This is your warning." Her dad started to argue, but the deputy cut him off. Next time, it's jail. They left with a lot of side-eye and muttering, but no damage this time. The day after, I got the real show. My phone buzzed with an alert from my alarm system. Sliding door breach. I was already pulling up the live feed before the cops called me. Carla and her dad were on camera in my backyard, trying to wedge the door open with a crowbar. When the cruiser pulled up, they froze like kids caught with their hands in the cookie jar. Didn't matter. They were cuffed and walked right past my camera, both of them glaring like I was the one committing a crime. The arraignment was something else. Courtroom smelled like burnt coffee and floor wax. They shuffled in, orange jumpsuits, wrists chained, faces pale. The clerk started reading the charges like she was going down a grocery list. Attempted fraud, criminal trespass, breaking and entering, vandalism. Their public defender, some guy who looked like he hadn't slept in a week, tried to sell the judge on a family misunderstanding. The judge leaned forward, voice sharp. Attempted fraud is not a misunderstanding. Carla's dad tried to speak up, but the guard beside him shut it down fast. Bail is set at $10,000 each, the judge said, banging the gavel like the matter was already boring her. They both turned toward the back of the room. Megan sat there, tight-lipped, arms crossed. She didn't move right away, but when the judge called for the next case, she got up and walked out, straight to the clerk's desk to post bond. By the time they walked out into the daylight, they looked different. Not smug, not righteous, just stunned, broke, desperate, and out of moves. And for the first time since this started, I realized they might finally understand. This wasn't just some family squabble they could bully their way through. While they sat in jail, stewing in orange jumpsuits, I made my move. I logged into the account for one of my LLCs, the one I'd set up years ago for rental properties. Kept it clean, kept it quiet. Perfect for what I had in mind. Pulled up the foreclosure listings. Their estate sat there like a crown knocked off a head. Market value listed at $1.8 million. Now just another asset on the bank's balance sheet. I called the bank directly, spoke to the asset manager. $430 cash as is, I told him. There was a pause, then a low chuckle. If you can close fast, we can work with that. 2 signatures, 1 wire transfer, and the house that had been their pride and joy wasn't theirs anymore. I didn't gloat. Didn't send any cryptic texts or drop hints. I just waited and let the legal gears turn. The bank processed the sale, my title company filed the paperwork, and the county stamped it official. 3 days after they posted bail, the process server found them. 72 hours to vacate the property. No negotiation, no extensions. The phone rang that night. Carla's number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Her voice was shaky, thick with tears. "We have nowhere to go, Ray." From somewhere in the background, her dad's voice cut through, hard and venomous. "This is your fault!" I stayed quiet for a second, letting their panic sit in the air. Carla's sobs got louder. "Please, we don't have time to find another place. We can work something out." I could picture them standing in their big, echoing kitchen, the same one they used to brag about, surrounded by stacks of unpaid bills and boxes they couldn't fill fast enough. "You made your choice," I said finally. Her dad grabbed the phone. "You think you've won? You haven't seen the last of us." I hung up without answering. Outside, the crickets were loud and the air was still. I sat on the porch with a fresh cup of coffee, thinking about how fast a life can collapse when it's built on other people's property and other people's patience. I pulled up to their old driveway with a locksmith's van right behind me and a security truck rolling in behind that. The sky was gray, heavy, like it knew a storm was about to hit. They were already out on the lawn, cardboard boxes stacked at their feet. Carla in a hoodie, hair pulled back like she hadn't slept. Her dad pacing, hands on his hips. Megan was in the middle of it, arms flailing at the 2 cops standing nearby. "This is illegal," she kept saying. "You can't just take someone's house. We have family rights." One of the officers glanced at me, bored. "You the new owner?" I held up the folder with the stamped deed. "Yeah. And we're here to change the locks." Carla turned, eyes locking on mine. "You bought it?" She said it like the words didn't add up in her head. "The bank's house," I told her. "Not yours. Not anymore." Her dad stepped forward, jaw tight. "You set this up. You've been waiting to screw us." I ignored him, looked at the locksmith. "Front, back, garage. Replace them all. Keypad entry on every exterior door." Carla's voice rose over the sound of the drill. "What are you going to do with it?" I didn't blink. "Turning it into transitional housing for men with nowhere else to go. Guys getting out of shelters. Vets, divorcees, the real forgotten ones." Her head tilted, confused. "You're serious?" "Dead serious," I said. "Place has enough bedrooms for 10 guys. Basement's perfect for a rec room. That media room you loved? Gonna be a job training space." Her dad barked a laugh. "You're wasting it." "No," I said. "I'm using it for something worth more than a status symbol." Megan tried again with the cops. "Can't you give them a week? A few days? Something?" The taller cop shook his head. "Eviction notice was 72 hours. Time's up." The locksmith moved fast, swapping hardware, testing codes. My security guy walked the perimeter, snapping pictures and making notes. Her dad muttered under his breath as he carried another box to the curb. Carla just stood there, arms crossed, staring at me like if she glared hard enough. I'd change my mind. When the last lock clicked into place, I signed off on the work order and handed the keypad code to the security tech. Nobody gets in without me knowing. Her dad dropped his final box onto the lawn with a thud. "You're gonna regret this." I stepped closer, meeting his glare head on. Number. You're just going to remember it for the rest of your life. And with that, I walked past them into my new house. Carla's dad took 2 quick steps toward me, fists half clenched, but the nearest cop slid in between us, palm out. "Back it up," the cop warned. "You ruined us," her dad shouted over his shoulder at me. His voice cracked with something between rage and panic. "We had everything." "No," I said, loud enough for everyone on that lawn to hear. "You burned everything." He froze for a second, maybe not expecting me to fire back so directly. I didn't let the pause hang. "You spent years mocking me, acting like I was a joke. Never once asked what I was working on, what I built. You never visited unless it was to pick me apart." I took 1 step closer, the cop still between us. "And you sure as hell didn't come to see me until you thought you could flip my house." Carla's arms were wrapped tight across her chest, her eyes fixed on the grass like she could just vanish from the scene. Megan stood to one side, looking back and forth between them and the 2 cops like she was hoping somebody else would fix this. Vince was leaning against his truck, arms crossed, not moving to help. "You're really not going to take us in?" Carla's dad barked at him. Vince didn't answer. He just looked away. "Funny," I said, breaking the silence. "Family matters when you need something. But when it's about having someone's back, everyone disappears." That landed harder than I expected. Carla flinched. Megan's mouth tightened. Vince pushed off his truck but didn't speak. The locksmith handed me the new set of keys. "All set," he said. Her dad's voice rose again, desperate now. "We built a life, Ray. You wouldn't even have what you have if it wasn't for us." I laughed once, sharp. "You're right, I wouldn't. Because watching you taught me exactly what not to do." The cops gave them their final warning to clear the property. One grabbed the eviction notice from the porch and waved it toward the driveway. "Let's go, now." Carla picked up a box and started walking without looking at me. Her dad followed, muttering curses under his breath. Megan and Vince stayed back until the cars pulled away, then slipped off in opposite directions, neither offering a ride or a couch. I stood there until the sound of engines faded, the air still and heavy around me. For the first time, I realized just how far they'd fallen, and how much lower they were about to go. They ended up in a roadside motel off the highway, the kind with buzzing neon and a faint smell of bleach that never really covered anything. Megan floated them for a week, paying the bill and dropping off groceries. Then she cut it off, saying she couldn't enable bad decisions. Vince pretended to care, promised to check in, and vanished before the second week was up. Carla took a job at a call center downtown. $12 an hour, headset glued to her head for 8 hours straight. Her dad started detailing cars at a used lot, buffing out scratches for people who probably had more money in their checking accounts than he had in his life savings. Meanwhile, their old mansion didn't sit empty for long. My contractors moved fast. New paint, deep clean, locks all replaced again for good measure. Within a month, 5 men had moved in, all rebuilding, all grateful to have a safe place to land. The media room they used to boast about, with its leather recliners and 80-inch screen, now had folding tables, laptops, and job boards on the walls. Every morning, guys sat in there filling out applications, learning trades, scheduling interviews. Her prized kitchen, the one she once called fit for a magazine spread, became the heart of the place. A shared meal spot, stocked with crock pots and mismatched mugs. People laughed in there now, real laughter, not the performative kind she used for company. On the day we finished setting it all up, I walked through one last time, making sure everything was ready for the first group dinner. I stopped in the main hallway, looked at the empty space by the stairs, and knew exactly what needed to go there. A framed photo from one of their so-called success summits, both of them smiling in designer clothes, holding champagne like they'd conquered the world. I had it blown up just enough to be impossible to miss. Underneath, I had a brass plaque mounted. The engraving was simple, the truth sharp. Donated by the man you tried to steal from. Every new resident saw it when they walked in. Some laughed, some shook their heads, but everyone understood it. And I knew sooner or later, word would get back to the motel. Last week, a plain white envelope showed up in my mailbox. No return address, just my name scrawled in handwriting I'd known for years. Inside was a letter from Carla. 2 full pages, written in blue ink. She said they'd been doing some thinking. She was sorry. They'd changed. They were trying to rebuild. And, right there in the last paragraph, she asked if I could send some money to help them get back on their feet. I didn't get angry. I didn't even roll my eyes. I just laughed. I pulled open my filing cabinet, found the original copy of my property deed, and made a crisp photocopy. At the top, in bold black letters, Raymond Foster, sole owner. I highlighted my name until it glowed like a warning sign. At the bottom, I took a black Sharpie and wrote, "You said losers shouldn't own property. Looks like you were right." I folded it neatly, slipped it into an envelope, and mailed it to the motel. No note, no return address. Just the document they couldn't fake, the proof they couldn't argue with. My uncle's old place is still mine, still cared for, still quiet at night. I keep the porch light on, just like he did, and I take care of it the way he taught me. They lost everything chasing something they never earned. They burned bridges and called it strategy, until there was nothing left but smoke and a vacancy sign. I wasn't the failure. I just stopped playing by their rules. I didn't win by shouting louder or swinging harder. I won by holding my ground, letting the truth do the work. And when the dust settled, I was still standing inside my home, while they were the ones outside, looking in. What would you have done if they were your in-laws? Drop your answer in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.